Hey guys, Karis here. Hope y'all are doing awesome. I am coming to you today to do something a little bit different than what I've done recently on these videos. This is going to be a three-part series. So the first part is going to be today, and then I'll share the next two parts for the next couple of days. But this is just something coming from my personal story that God has helped me to overcome. And I know that this is a problem for not maybe a problem, but really a struggle. It's a real struggle for so many of us out there in the world. And with the recent suicides that have happened, I feel like this is a timely message that God has kind of encouraged me to share. So I hope in sharing my story, my struggle, my battle with depression, and overcoming that this will be helpful for someone out there. That is what the Lord always reminds me. If it's helpful for one, then it's worth it to put it out there and to share with you guys. So I really hope that this is going to be helpful for you. But this first part of this is going to be kind of depression, my story with depression. And what I want you to know is how I realized where I was, what I was in, the help that I got, and how I overcame. And I do want to let you know that the next two parts of this video is going to be focusing on the help that I received. And there were four things that helped me in overcoming depression and not allowing it to continue to have such a strong hold in my life. First thing was a counselor. I found a Christian counselor. For me, that's what I needed, was a Christian counselor to help me in just finding out kind of my history, my past, and maybe some things that got me there, and then how to use God's Word to help me overcome. Second thing that we'll be talking about is medication. And I know that this is a touchy subject for some, but for me, it was a vital part in overcoming depression and honestly in being alive. So you can let that soak in for a minute. It was a very important part of that. A third thing that helped me, of course, was my support system. Those that I had in my support system, that's very important for you. And lastly, and probably most importantly, I used my Bible and a journal. And again, I'll go into more of how I use those things and how they helped me in the next two series of this video. But first, I just want to talk to you about my journey. And before I get into that, I had this scripture that God laid onto in my heart before I did this video, and it's Psalms 121. Verse 1 says, "I lift up my eyes to the mountains. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth." So at the end of the day, He is where our help comes from. And He used these four things in my life to help me. And that's what I hope as you're listening to this today, that you understand that you need help. And that was the first place that I had to get in depression, in realizing that I could not do it on my own. I was not in a place where I could overcome it. And for so long in my life, I wore this mask. I tell people when I speak, when I share my story, or when I share anywhere, that I was a master of the mask. My husband and I were leading worship at a church. It was the first church where we were able to be a team and lead worship together. And it was so awesome, and it was so great. And I felt like God was doing some amazing things. And then also, I had a business that was successful, and I had a young child, a young little girl at home, and everything was going great. And then, bam, here comes depression, and it knocked me off of my feet. It took my breath away. Some things leading up to that, I was dealing with major anxiety attacks, and I was not taking care of my body. I was overworking it, working out, because I was trying so hard to make that mask look just right. And I was not eating enough, and I was drinking gallons of water and just trying so hard to do it on my own, guys. And you cannot do it on your own. And so I opened the door for these things to come in. And so because I didn't deal with my anxiety, because I didn't deal with all these other issues, it morphed into depression for me. Now, I know that for some of you watching this, you don't deal with depression and anxiety. You just deal with depression or you just deal with anxiety. But for me, it was both. It was both. And so in that depression, maybe you're watching this and maybe you have someone who's in your family that is battling depression and you just want to understand kind of what they're going through. For me, it was very dark and very scary. Depression would tell me the less words, things like you are hopeless, you are purposeless, you are worthless, you are useless. And that's what I would hear day in and day out. And it became a burden. It became a struggle. It became painful physically to even get up out of bed. And it was hard. I was a stay-at-home mom, and I felt like I was not doing my job. I felt like I was not needed. All the while trying to wear this mask and just be this perfect person. And guys, we're not. You know, the Bible tells us all have sinned and fallen short of God's glory, but I had it all confused. And I was convinced in my head that if I didn't have it all together, if I didn't have it just right, that God would not be able to use me. And so then I began to feel like a failure to Him, because here my husband and we're just now finally getting to use our gifts together, and I failed. I've messed it up. So I had all this going on in my head, and in all of this, even in struggles with my body and my body image, I was pregnant, and I ended up miscarrying. I lost the baby, which is another story for another day. But I hit rock bottom. And I got to the point, and even during this time, guys, I was a believer. I was a follower of Jesus. You've heard me say in the beginning, my husband and I were leading worship. I hit the point to where I said, I just need to leave this world. I'm a burden. Everyone would be better off without me. Even my husband and my daughter would be better off without me. And that's what depression does, guys. It takes your life. It sucks the life out of you. It does not want you to see that you are full of purpose, that you are full of use and full of hope. It wants to strip you of all of that and make you feel empty. And so that's where suicide comes in. And I didn't get to the point where I tried to hurt myself, but I was at that low point to where I said, I'm not needed here. I have no purpose here. I'm too much of a burden for my family and my friends, and I just need to leave so they're not worried about me anymore, so I'm not causing them pain. That's kind of how it makes you see things, and that scared me to be at that point. So when I hit rock bottom, all I could do was look up and say, okay, God, I'm here. I realize I can't do this on my own. I'm ready to get help. So if you're watching this first part today, what I want you to understand is you cannot battle depression on your own. You cannot sit in your house and hide from it. You cannot continue to be a master of the mask the way that I was and think that it's all going to go away. Because friend, it is not. It is not going to go away. And you are not alone in battling depression. You can go look up numbers of suicide rates. You can go look up numbers of those who battle depression. I believe in the United States, it's 1 out of 5 women battle some form of depression, but we have convinced ourselves that we cannot talk about this because of a stigma. I don't know where that stigma came from, but it needs to go away. And if we can be the first ones to make that stigma go away and help each other, then so be it. But I want you to know that you matter, that you have not failed God, and that He does have a purpose for you. He made you. He created you in a way that nobody else is created, and He needs you on this earth. He wants you here. He spent so much time on you and time on your plan and your purpose. So I want you to know that you do matter and that you can overcome and that you are worth it to get help. So I just encourage you to continue to watch these series of videos and understand that you're not alone. Understand that it's okay. And understand that you can get through this. So I'm going to continue the next part, again, on covering 2 of the 4 things that helped me, and then the 3rd video will be over the last 2 things. But just remember, you can't do this alone, and we're not supposed to bear our burdens alone. God tells us that we need to bear one another's burdens. So I hope this is helpful for you today. Again, you can check out my website, karasnyder.com, for other encouragement, for other information, videos, blogs, all different type things that may be helpful for you on your journey. So stay tuned, guys. Know that I'm praying for you. And second part is coming up soon. Thanks.